Producer and writer Matthew Weiner carried around a TV script for 6 years. It was worth waiting for. That script evolved into the groundbreaking AMC drama Mad Men.
The series, which debuted in 2007, centers on a New York City ad agency in the 1960s. It won the Emmy for Outstanding Drama 4 years in a row and has inspired everything from clothing lines to advertisements.
I walk around that place, people say good morning to me. They don't really care. They don't know anything about me.
Mad Men, which is now in its 6th season, is devoted to developing characters that feel like real people who evolve with the history exploding around them.
Oh my God. Is he dead?
The most recognizable of these characters is Don Draper, a self-made man who struggles with a false identity.
Are you alone?
This season is set in 1968, the year that both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated. Richard Nixon became president, and Apollo 8 became the first manned spacecraft to leave Earth's orbit.
Mad Men creator Matthew Weiner is here, along with John Slattery, better known to his fans as Roger Sterling. Hello, John Slattery. Yes. All of your fans. Listen, we are a very big group, as you know. So here we are, Matthew, show set in 1968. This is the thing that I like so much about the show. You always zig when I think you're going to zag. And so here you are, 1968, but you say there are still parallels from today.
I have to. Well, you know, when we decided, you know, obviously you focus where the show's going to start. We finished in spring of '67, and I thought we'd do the Summer of Love or whatever. And then I always like to move ahead because it gives me energy in the story. It gives it a mystery, just to wonder what happened when we weren't with them. But when we started looking at 1968, it basically became obvious that it was probably one of the worst years in U.S. history. And just a relentless barrage of terrible events, political events. The economy was not as bad as it is now, but the war obviously was raging, and we became clear that we were losing the war, which is what one of the episodes was about.
And you think in many ways we're raging today? I
feel like there is a I think there's a malaise in the United States right now. I don't know if it's I think believe it or not, I don't know if a culture can have a self-esteem, but whatever the principles are that make us feel good about being Americans and about about where we live, and this being just something as simple as saying this is the greatest country on earth, which is what we were all raised with. I think that there's been a little bit of a blow to that, and it produces a lot of anxiety and change is afoot, and sometimes, you know, there was so much gun control legislation that year, and it went all the way to the end and then disappeared just like it did this time. You're like, how could that happen?
Gail, I always think you're going to zig when you zag. Welcome to the table, you guys.
Sure.
So 6 seasons. I mean, how do you keep it relevant? Do you think? How do you think you continue to grow your audience?
I'm always amazed at how he continues to tell ongoing stories about people whom you think you know a lot about, and I think somehow the more you know, the more stories there are to tell about these people.
John, you're directing this year, actually, aren't you?
I directed 2 episodes this year.
He's direct. This is not his first time. This is your 5th and 6th directing.
Yeah. How does he do? Is he any good?
Yes.
He's very gifted. He's very, very gifted. He's got a great eye, and we have a great relationship when I'm directing him, but when he's directing, we're just walking around like mad at each other.
You know, his character, your character, John, is so inappropriate at all the right and the wrong times that I listen to the dialogue, and I think they have to have improvised that. But it's no improvisation.
That's a dirty word
improvisation there. Yeah.
That's his gift. Yeah. It really is. He makes everything sound like it just happened.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They're great jokes. They're great. It's great material. It's hard not to laugh at it. So I feel like if, you know, oftentimes people, if it's a really good one, will laugh at their own jokes. And I mean, it really is, you know, all of us, we read these things at the table, and we're as big a fans of the writing as people who watch the show. So it's kind of just trying to rise to the material, which is Anthony, a good, I'll take that.
You'll like this, the
assignment.
music.
Oh, I love the music.
the
Well,
music
actually, one of the
great?
things I wanted to ask you about. I mean, you were one of the first shows ever to include a Beatles song, and you I don't know.
We are I think we are the first television show to
you
ever
paid
be able to.
like $250,000 to use that.
You know, the Beatles made $250,000 while you were asking me that question. It's not a money issue. It was really about like whether they felt that a television show would have the artistic, you know, relevance for them.
But more importantly,
they were resistant to it.
Music is incredibly important to this show.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
Yeah, I mean,
Why, Matthew?
I think that well, first of all, music is, you know, it conveys something emotional that is unrelated. You can't even describe it. I have this amazing composer, David Carbonara, who's been writing the score for the show and really creates themes for each of the characters, just like a feature film. And then the music of the period, you know, the first season, the idea is like you look at it and say, well, what is the popular music? And a lot of it has disappeared. But in terms of like expressing, it's always surprising to me what's on the top 10 every you know, you're just sort of looking at it and it takes you back, but it also is a great commentary on the characters and on the story. Everything is about the story on the show. It's not really about the period.
There was a time that Bryan Cranston's script was stolen for Breaking Bad. I'd like to know, John, what are you doing to make sure nobody sees the script? Because I know there's threat of death on this set.
There is. Matt makes a big speech at the every table read. He calls his mean speech, and he adds elements to it and finds one person in the room, singles them out. You look like you might be the one to leak.
I know, I've been on the set, and I know how tough you guys make it, because I was like being in a police state. Anyway, Matthew Weiner and John Slattery, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Mad Men airs Sunday nights on AMC.